Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and a picture sometimes paints 1,000 words. The equivalent, actually I think the figure is higher than that. The equivalent of $1,770 of gold purchased in 1933 would be roughly worth $151,000 today. Let that sink in. This is the value of your dollars decreasing over time because of all the government politicians and bureaucrats printing money left and right. This is what happens, and this is why I have a gold sponsor, Glint. I buy gold in my Glint account because with that gold I can spend it with a MasterCard debit card. I also buy gold, physical gold as well. You can actually do that through Glint if you want to. Go to their frequently asked questions page. They have I believe they got an email address you can email and say, I want mine physically delivered. Coins Kid, if we see death crosses on the weekly for DXY, I don't know what DXY is, then expect a massive melt up. I covered this in today's Bitcoin and XRP updates, okay? So it looks like he is seeing something. I would love to have an XRP melt up. Now, something we haven't covered yet, this guy, Representative French Hill, is going to run a subcommittee on digital assets in the new Congress. Listen to this.
There's regulating crypto and there's deciding whether it should be legal.
And remember, while you're watching this guy right here is as much of a shill for the anti-digital asset people as a Jim Cramer or an Andrew Ross Sorkin. They're all on the same team, folks. These are the same people that have Jay Clayton on and act like he's a hero instead of asking him any questions about ETHgate. Same people.
As a currency, is this something that should be legal, or is it a Ponzi scheme?
Well, I think let's go to basic principles here. Digital assets are something that need oversight and need consumer protection and need the right framework as a legal matter. Secondly, we want innovation for fintech and the use of blockchain to be available in the United States. We want to have the U.S. to be a leader. So we want to create a regulatory legal framework for digital assets, including digital payments, that makes them...
Including digital payments.
A leader in it from an innovation point of view, but also protects consumers and investors.
Okay, let's put this a little bit in English. No offense, and I understand
the arrogance that comes off this guy just makes me want to vomit. I can't stand this guy.
At the end of the day, do you think the U.S. government should help legalize an alternative currency, or are you trying to work on something that says, if I pull out any piece of currency I have in my pocket has a serial number, which means in theory every dollar's on the blockchain. Every $5 bill could be on the blockchain. Every $20 bill. You get where I'm going here. Is that what you should be working on, and not have this Bitcoin business, which has basically been used and abused by the worst actors in society?
Yeah, all your friends.
Well, I think it's important for viewers not to confuse Bitcoin and cryptocurrency with the idea of what we should do about a regulatory process for everything related to digital. And that's why I think it is confusing to a lot of people. I don't endorse personally Bitcoin being currency per se, but we need to have a regulatory regime that allows innovation on a blockchain to include digital payments, whether they're in Bitcoin or
said digital payments again,
coin, or payment in U.S. dollars the old-fashioned way. Mm-hmm. And we don't want that to be moved offshore and not under the oversight of the U.S. And again, that will protect both investors and users and innovators in the fintechs.
All right, that's progress. Now, Eleanor Terrett had a good tweet. The new Madoff Netflix show, which I think everybody should watch. I watched it. It's blowing my mind. I knew the basic premise of what he did, not the significant lengths he went in order to cover up the fraud. More than a few parallels with to SBF, FTX, including a very blindsided SEC, worth the watch. And so I retweeted hers and I said, bingo, MF Global, Gary Gensler misses when he's at the CFTC. Then Madoff comes along. Madoff, many people don't realize this, Madoff started his frauds back in the 60s or 70s, okay? That's how long it went on. And the SEC, quote, misses that fraud. Then we have FTX while Gary Gensler's at the SEC, and he's having meetings with the guy, and they're trying to create regulation, not create regulation, but they're trying to do something for some type of a framework for digital assets with Sam Bankman-Fried, who's FTX. And they, quote, miss the fraud. Now, folks, a pattern's a pattern's a pattern. At some point, this all leads to one place. And I don't think I have to say it. I think you can figure it out. Now, and then Eleanor Terrace shows this. Turns out, you remember that pattern thing I was just talking about? Turns out Sullivan Cromwell may have another major conflict of interest on its hands when it comes to FTX. This was brought to my attention by this person, private equity giant Apollo Global, which is where Jay Clayton is, according to a report from The Block, held talks to buy up creditor claims from FTX customers for cents on the dollars. Apollo's non-executive chairman of the board is former SEC chair Jay Clayton, also an S&C Sullivan and Cromwell lawyer who, according to the Financial Times, had dealings with FTX prior to its bankruptcy. Former SEC enforcement attorney John Reed Stark calls these conflicts of interest highly disturbing. Well, that's a miracle because this guy's been an apologist for the SEC for the last few months, like very vocal. He blocked me because I challenged him on it. Last week, a group of senators called on a bankruptcy judge to replace Sullivan and Cromwell with an independent examiner, as the firm had pocketed $20 million from FTX, and one of its former partners was the general counsel at FTX. Patterns, folks, patterns. Speaking of patterns, Stefan Huber, who is now Mr. Huber, says, the very week that the SEC sues Gemini and Genesis over their staking program, Consensus launches their own staking program. Why? Because of Lubin's friends at the SEC? When are you guys starting to realize what's going on here? Crypto Consensus launches MetaMask staking January 13th, 2023. Major Ethereum-focused blockchain company Consensus announced the launch of MetaMask staking, a new feature directly incorporated in the MetaMask portfolio dApp. All right, so I did a whistleblower alert because I wanted to make Gary Gensler and Hester Pierce aware staking is in progress. Coinbase was threatened by you and didn't do it. So that was Coinbase Lend. Gary Gensler threatened to sue them if they went with it, so they didn't. Then they allowed Gemini to do it, and now that Gemini is having issues, they're suing Gemini for doing the same thing, but they're going to allow MetaMask to do it. Are we seeing the picture here? Now, on to Davos. Davos is starting this week, folks.
How are you today?
Hello?
How are you?
No, good.
These guys are entering Davos.
Standing behind me in bright orange are police. There have been a reported 5,000 police and military that have been authorized to protect the World Economic Forum as they meet this week in Davos, Switzerland.
All right, so that's what's going on. Now, this is Dr. Martin Hisbach. I guess I'm saying his name right. He is there in Davos. He's the guy that works for Uphold. He is head of research for Uphold. Look at this. I didn't even know they had McDonald's in Davos. My 10-year-old would be very happy. We didn't even realize that was the case. Well, he was tweeting about it. Apparently, he's at Blockchain Hub in Davos, and these are some of the companies that are there. Apparently, it's sponsored by Casper Labs and CV Labs. There's Uphold on the board. I see Coinbase. A lot of names you'll recognize here. I just wanted to kind of go over. Now, I looked up the Blockchain Hub website, and it's got all the different people that are speaking. Now, I did not see anybody from Ripple there, but First, let me show you this, and I'll go over the rules. This is the blockchain hub in Davos. I don't want to play that because there's music going, and that's probably copyright stuff. So, but this is where they're going to be. Let me see if I can get on through it. That's where that is. And then this guy who is apparently, let's see, he's Casper Network OG. I don't know if that, he may just be an influencer, but he said Stuart Alderati is going to be a speaker at the blockchain hub. I don't know this. We haven't confirmed this yet. We also they're also saying that Brad Garlinghouse features in session alongside Netherlands Central Bank President Klaas Knot. So apparently Brad Garlinghouse is going to be there too, but I don't know. I haven't confirmed that. Okay. Says Ripple again this year, World Economic Forum. Then we have this. It looks like James Wallace is going to be there. So James Wallace is going to be there. He's the VP of Central Bank Engagements for CBDC's Ripple. And then here's the World Economic Forum, and they've got a podcast they're doing. Have both pulled out of the 2023 World Economic Forum in Davos, which begins today till the 20th of January. Okay? So that's kind of weird, wouldn't you say? Don't know what to make of that. Now, just to put things in perspective here, folks, that famous video that we have of Brad Garlinghouse and Joseph Lubin on stage, that also took place in Davos back in 2019, Ethereal Davos. That's where they were when that went on, this conversation right here.
People talk about the XRP ledger being centralized, I think, because they want to paint it that way. The XRP ledger is more decentralized than mining-based solutions because of the nature of proof of work and the centralization of proof of work mining that's happened, particularly in China.
Joe, let me jump in there just because Amanda's going to be happy if we have a little bit of controversy. XRP is a value token and it trades in an open market. If the CFTC noticed that you owned 60% of the silver supply, how comfortable would they be?
I won't speak for the CFTC. We have in escrow 55% of all of the XRP that we own. We can't sell it. We can't do anything with it. So, we actually own about 13%.
But you do sell it regularly, right? Don't you sell it into the market?
We're transparent about that. How much do you sell?
When necessary, sure.
And I think, look, I'm talking about transparency because I think for the whole industry to mature.
One of the best clips ever. Brad Garlinghouse totally called out Joseph Lubin because that is what has called, these people have targeted Ripple because they can point at what Ripple's been transparent about, which is the escrow. But Consensus and all these other companies have not been. Joseph Lubin in that actual clip, if you kept watching it, he calls it, we practice internal transparency. In other words, not transparency. So they don't show what they're doing, and that way nobody can point at them and say what they're doing. Meanwhile, Ripple says, here's ours, it's in escrow, here's how it works, does write-ups on it, does market reports. This is the whole thing about all this, folks. This is why we had to uncover ETHgate. All these people, there was no choice but to fight back and to show how absurd everything that was going on was. And boy, did we show it. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family that Davos is on, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that.